Welcome back to The Line. Last week, the HLC, which stands for the Higher Learning Commission, sent UNM's acting president, Shawki Abdallah, an unsettling letter that puts the school's accreditation in potential jeopardy. The HLC said it was aware of New Mexico Auditor Tim Keller's investigation into the oversight of UNM's athletic department, an investigation that has expanded to the school's overall financial management. Now, the commission requests a detailed description of the concerns that led to the investigation and what UNM is doing to correct the problem. The deadline for delivery of the report is September 14th, Eric. UNM has been accredited through the HLC since 1922, is what we do in these things. The last one was 2009, something like that. But anyway, is there really a chance here an entire university could lose its accreditation? I just find that very hard to believe. I
certainly hope not.
Yeah.
But I do think it speaks to a larger problem that the university has had for recent history, which is this sort of lack of accountability for certain major elements. In this case, the athletics department. You know, we all love the Lobos, but I think there's been a much tighter grip on the finances there because of pressure and so on than there is in the rest of the university. I think when you start looking at some of the other management going on, especially under Shawki's leadership, I think they're going to be fine. But I do think this is a real wake-up call for how hands-off we have been in the athletics department in particular.
Right.
And I want to commend the auditor, because I know this is a tough thing to do, right? People we're not supposed to be criticizing the Lobos, and and he really took a courageous stand. And I know some folks told him not to do it. And he's really kind of gotten beat up a little bit over it, but I think it's really important that we call it out like we see it, and I think there's some real reform that's needed in that part of the university.
You know, Rachel, outside of athletics, there's been other school departments that have lost their accreditation over the years. Sometimes it happens for just a cycle, and it comes back, you correct the problems, you go back. It seems like the university is on top of this. I mentioned Interim President Abdallah sending a letter saying, we're on it. We'll give you everything you need in a timely manner. He's not fighting any of this. But however, to Eric's point, the athletic thing, something's got to happen internally, it would seem to me, for the accreditation people to say, you guys are good now. You know what I mean? One has to come before the other, would seem to me.
I would guess what they're really trying to ascertain is how much, if any, ripple effect there is to the rest of the university beyond just athletics. And by asking for these documents, they're kind of trying to get a sense of that, to feel that out, would be my guess.
Right. Any bounce in the business community? Because one could imagine, let's think worst case here. You've got the state's flagship university. If it ever lost its accreditation, the ripple effect, speaking of using your term, would be unbelievable in the community here. It would be a tragedy, actually, if you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So much of this community and the economy around it is centered around UNM. It would definitely have huge impact.
That's right. I'm thinking, Dan, of the new building going up downtown. There's all these investments going on from UNM. You can file this under the last thing they need right now, but here we are, and it's there. What do we need to do from here to get this thing
I think, the one group that keeps skirting any accountability mechanism by the media or anybody is the Board of Regents.
Okay.
I mean, that's where the buck stops. It doesn't stop with the president. It doesn't even stop with the athletic director. Those guys all report to the Board of Regents.
Good point.
And these guys are noticeably quiet, noticeably absent. To say that this has been a systemic problem over all these years, I'm not sure I buy that. That seems to be the go-to answer. Okay, you finally figured it out and it's been this way for 100 years. I don't buy that. I think in the last few years there's been a real problem at the University of New Mexico. There's been a real sense of arrogance when it comes to athletics, the firing of coaches, paying unbelievable amounts of money for coaches, hiring coaches, very little involvement from the community, the constant pushback that, hey, we're not filling up seats, we're not paying for stuff, we're not doing things, but it's not our fault, it's your fault. The investment in the pit, that it turns around, we redo the pit, we had all these luxury boxes, now we can never host an NCAA tournament game because the courts isn't big enough. I mean, these are all things that if you were running a private sector business, you'd think the board of directors would eventually come down to the guy in charge and say, we got to question your leadership. Yet at UNM, the Board of Regents, who are ultimately responsible for all of this, they're the guys. They're the ones that have the ability to fix these problems immediately. I mean, how do you overpay a coach that you've let go and the Board of Regents doesn't know about it?
Right.
How do you have suites out there that the Board of Regents doesn't know, especially when some of them are the ones not paying, by the way. But at the end of the day, there seems to be no accountability. This Board of Regents, I think before we start talking about firing coaches and presidents and hiring new presidents, I think something's got to be done serious with the Board of Regents at the University of New Mexico, because I think it starts at the top.
Good point there. I appreciate that a lot. Touch on that if you would. The buck has to stop somewhere. And the president has said, president of the university has said, we're on it, we're aware of it. It is kind of interesting that they're so quiet from the regent's end of the hall, so to speak.
It is, and
Yeah.
again, these are the kind of questions that we hear all the time. Whether it's the regents, so what are they doing? Why are we not paying attention to this? Dan talked about the skyboxes and things that aren't getting paid. I mean, those were some of the lamest excuses I ever read about why somebody wasn't paying their bills. I mean, come on.
And then they publish names that come back the next day and say, we paid it. What are you talking about?
What are you
They don't
talking
even know
about?
who
I
did
mean,
or didn't
they
pay.
didn't even know. And I mean, let's be honest. Everything started going downhill when we renamed the pit. I mean, seriously, we renamed it after a pizza company, and we're surprised that the coolest thing we've ever had in Albuquerque, the pit, is, I mean, to Dan's point, I mean, it's not a regulation size court anymore. I just think that I'm glad that the auditor is doing what he's doing here. I mean, we've seen the auditor doing that in cities and towns and with universities, and it's important. I mean, it's like with our capital outlay money that's just sitting on somebody's books out there. We are an incredibly poor state. We need our resources, and nothing offends us more than to see somebody misusing those resources. And I was pleased with the president's response, and we'll see what happens
He's
when
in a
that
tough
report's
spot.
due.
That poor
He is
guy's
in
in
a
a tough
tough
spot. I mean, you
Absolutely.
tell someone, we're giving you all this accountability with zero authority because everybody knows you're going to be gone eventually.
That's right.
We haven't even laid out the plan for finding a new president. I mean, we kind of have, oh, and by the way, we're going to hire a new president, but we're going to hire a new athletic director before we bring in the new president, which is the craziest thing anybody's ever heard of. And again, the people who should be directing all of this, the Board of Regents, are just sitting there twiddling their thumbs, looking around
And
like,
what are their salaries? I mean,
Well, they
what
don't
is
get
the
salaries.
president's salary? What is the athletic director's salaries?
the Board of Regents don't get salaries.
are their
they
benefits
just get benefits
packages?
that are unbelievable. You know, they get sideline passes, they fly to everything. But I just, it's a shame that at the end of the day, it's taking the state auditor, the attorney general to look into something that the governor's office has appointed these folks. And at the end of the day, there seems to be very little even coming out of the governor's office saying, you guys that I appointed, I'm going to hold you guys accountable, fix this.
glad
Haven't
you-
heard a word.
Yes, I'm glad you put that word in there about the governor's office saying to the regents, something could be done.
Fix it.
Eric Griego, is there a sense of piling on here, piling on the university? I understand Mr. Keller's idea to look into this and have another, Mr. Balderas look into this as well. Is that piling on a little bit? Should people have backed off a little bit and said, let's let the university figure out what's going on here? Yeah, is he sense of that?
I remember, despite the fact that we, that we don't have a national sports team, so the Lobos are sort of our de facto sort of, that's our team, that's our mascot, and the athletics program is something that everybody sort of is excited about and loyal to and so on. However, my experience in the legislature is, especially for a lot of the rural legislature, including some former leadership folks, they take a lot of pride in piling on and sort of pointing out all the problems at UNM.
Yep. It's a thing.
Yeah, granted, there have been some serious issues that we have to address, but I think it's also sort of this cultural issue we have where they're outside of Albuquerque. It's the same issue we have, unfortunately, in the legislature in a lot of places. Outside of Albuquerque, there's that big institution getting all this money and so on, and they're mismanaged and they're running, wild, and I can't occasionally hear the L word, the liberal world, those academics. And unfortunately, I hope it doesn't feed into some of this sort of academic thing going on. And I will say one important thing, and I do think this is squarely with the
Is
governor.
this the only important thing you're
Yeah. Well, one very important point I want to make is that when the governor really used higher ed education funding as a negotiating chip in that tactic, I think that really sent really a chilling effect into a lot of this rule, like how much do we value higher education institutions, the flagship institution being, primary among them. And I think a lot of folks, it's affected morale, it's affected ability to retire, it's affected grants. So I think I do worry that this sort of buys into that narrative that we've got serious problems.
But I think you got to give the governor at least a little bit of credit to some extent. I think part of, from people that I've talked to, part of that higher education conversation stems from this kind of conversation, right? Hey, we're talking about we got to find money to operate K through 12, public safety, we got to do stuff, and you guys are paying hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of years. You guys don't know who's paying back the sweet money. Oh, by the way, when you floated the bond, you said the sweets were the ones that were going to pay the debt on it. I mean, the governor, I think to her credit, has said, this higher education conversation, especially in Albuquerque, we need to kind of step back and look at this because it's a It's at the end of the day, this is a lot of money. This is not pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, but at the same time, as you just said, she's the one who appointed those regions.
That's right.
I mean, the buck's going to keep going on up. And to Eric's point, to completely line item higher education, that's not negotiating.
What do you call it?
I call it ugly and vindictive.
And irresponsible.
I mean, it's just, you can't do that. I mean, that's not leadership. You negotiate, you work with people, and, you know, we had people on both sides of the aisle who were livid about that.
Of course, there were people on both
And-
sides that livid about it, but at some point, you have the power of the pen to say the negotiations aren't working, and this is how we're going to handle it. Every governor has done it in years, including Governor Richardson, Governor Anaya. You go through the history of it.
I don't know.
Not
It
higher
doesn't make- I
education,
don't-
but they've
I
done
don't know
it.
of a governor who's ever said basically we're going to gut our higher education
Well, they've
system and
gutted-
had faculty
gutted-
leaving, had research grants leaving, and in this case now we really UNM's taken a hit, but all of our institutions of higher education have taken a hit by just, I can tell you, talk to faculty members or granting institutions, just this threat and lack of support from a governor onto higher ed has sent, talk about a national impact. It's really been, it really has affected the
And it
viability.
hurts our economy.
Yeah, it does hurt our
Absolutely.
economy. And I got to wrap it here, but you mentioned earlier as well, this accreditation look also affects things like grants and people either retiring, not retiring, students coming in or not coming. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
These things all
absolutely.
have,
It's absolutely.
all have an effect. Now, when we come back to the line, we'll talk about the latest news from this year's candidates to be the next mayor of Albuquerque. But first,